Hello and welcome back to another popcorn chat. In this video I'm going to be speaking to you about season 4 of Stranger Things. So season 4 follows on from where we left off with the group. We have various sort of families in different states now, and we sort of see how the dynamic are working in terms of going to high school, figuring out being a teenager, whilst these suspicious murders start happening again in Hawkins. And this causes the group to sort of come together, figure out and investigate this as they try and defeat this infamous Vecna. I feel like I don't need to tell you guys, but there will definitely be spoiler talk going ahead in this video. So if you've not seen series 4, what are you doing on this video? Make sure you come back and check it out once you've caught up with what happened in season 4. So first off, let me talk about some negatives of season 4. First things first, the episodes were way too long for me. I know a lot of people who have enjoyed this series and have enjoyed the longer format with these episodes. For me, 50 minutes to an hour is a perfect episode. You don't need to go further than that. I felt like they were dragging on, even from that first episode in this season. They were really trying to connect all these story arcs, and it was just way too much. And that sort of continued with the rest of series 4, both in volume 1 and volume 2. I mean, obviously that finale episode was 2 hours 20 minutes. That is longer than most films that I watch. I think these episodes were way too long and dragged out a lot of smaller moments and 3 different plot lines, and I'm not sure if it worked for me. Speaking of plot lines, the only story that I was really invested in was the sort of the group of friends in Hawkins. You know, we've got Max, Lucas, Steve, Robin, that sort of dynamic I was interested in. But every time it cut to either the Russian plotline with Hopper, Joyce, or it would even cut to Will, Mike, Jonathan, Argyle, that story, I was not invested in either. I mean, Eleven's story is quite interesting as well. Obviously, that was a key part of this series. I was only interested in half of the 4 plot lines this series, so I'm not really sure on the writing. I think it has too many characters, too many plot lines, trying to do different things. It was a little bit messy for me. So season 4, we were introduced to some new characters. We had Eddie, Jason, Chrissy, Enzo. I feel like there's a few more. And some of them lots of people liked and were really interesting characters. For example, Eddie and Enzo, and even Chrissy, even though they shared a very small part. And then we had characters like Jason, and I just found his plotline, his character, more of an annoyance this series. It was this plotline at the beginning of the series was sort of heavy on, and then after the first 2 episodes, it kind of weaned him out a little bit, and then he reappeared sort of in the later part of the season. But he was just a character that was so frustrating, and you know he was going to sort of inhibit and sort of slow down whatever the group were going to try and do ultimately, which he did do at one point. But I found his character really annoying, and yeah, I think we could have gone without Jason's involvement, to be honest. There were certain moments within that sort of final episode where we have the group sort of focused on their own sort of areas and how they're going to sort of approach this with different phases. And what I found frustrating, you know, some of my favourite characters this series were Steve, Robin and Nancy, and they just kind of wiped those characters out for a while. So we saw them being tangled by these vines and sort of held against the wall for quite a long time. I think the characters from that point were on the wall for about 20 minutes. Why didn't they choke and die? Why didn't something else happen? It wiped out some of my favourite characters in this season for a lot of the plot, which was really, really sad to see. So that was a bit frustrating. And for example, Eddie and Dustin, I don't think they were equipped well with just shields and stuff. So I was like, oh, okay, there's something going to happen here, isn't there, to these two? So I sort of knew that quite early on. So yeah, I don't know. I think logic was out the window on that part. Maybe it was deliberate. I thought it was pretty weak in terms of what they would have done and the preparation they've had, you know, with all these years before, with the Upside Down and everything that's come from it. I just felt like they were quite sort of dumbed down in that situation with their knowledge of what they've come up against. So it was a bit frustrating to see that with characters that you love in the final episode. It's not all doom and gloom. I definitely have some positives out of season 4. One of the main things that I really liked is Max's story in this season. I've always thought that Max has been an interesting character ever since she was introduced, especially early on in season 4, how they looked at sort of the trauma aspect of it and what she was sort of processing, and the whole sort of arc with her this series and sort of coming to terms with speaking about how she feels was really sort of significant, especially when you remember they're supposed to be like 14. I thought Sadie gave a really, really great performance throughout and was consistent. There were some episodes where she was kind of forgotten about, you know, with her sort of, once she was sort of scarred, shall we say, by Vecna, and then she was kind of forgotten about for that sort of later half of Volume 1, and then she came back into those last 2 episodes. But what she was given, she absolutely delivered. There was also some great performances, especially from Caleb. Caleb gave an absolutely amazing performance in that last episode regarding Max's plot and their sort of relationship that sort of came together through, you know, these sort of times. And wow, he really knocked it out of the park for me. In the attic, he was so good. The emotions that he conveyed, that sort of switch when he was possessed, absolutely loved that from Caleb. Fully appreciate him as an actor after this series. I think he's absolutely smashed it. I think Gaten gave a really good performance as well this series with Eddie and their relationship there. And, you know, unfortunately how that ended up for Eddie's character. And both in that moment when it's just them two, in the Upside Down, that was emotional. And then what he's able to do when we sort of flash forward and he speaks to his uncle and how he delivers that, oh my god. That, like, when that bottom lip was going, I think we were going. So I thought he gave a really, really great performance and everyone sort of smashed out the park. Maya Hawke was absolutely brilliant. Loved her character this season. Even like Millie Bobby Brown, still excellent in this show. Furthermore, I think Robin had a really interesting dynamic this series, exploring more of who she is, you know, after sort of seeing her dynamic with Steve in series 3. And I loved her dynamic with Nancy as well. You know, they could not have got on because of Steve and stuff, but they were just friends. And like, I loved how they sort of communicate with each other. And, you know, Robin was this really hyper energetic character and was like a spaniel, and then Nancy was just very calm and collected. So I liked those interactions, sort of those small character moments with them during this season. So overall, I thought this season was pretty good. It's definitely not the worst, it's not the best. I think there's great character moments. I like those sort of smaller interactions between the characters and seeing how they've progressed so far over these 4 seasons. But I just think it was a little bit long, a little bit drawn out, and they didn't need to have that last 20 minutes just knowing that there's going to be season 5. And they just sort of, I think they must have changed the writing or something happened there. It was a bit of a cop-out, in my opinion. It really sort of frustrated me, but hey-ho. We're getting another season, so let's see what happens. Hopefully we're going to get a bit of a more finite situation in Series 5. I mean, we have to. So in terms of how I would rank Season 4 in what we've seen so far, the best still is number 1 for me. Absolutely smashed it out of the park. Season 3 was really, really interesting with the characters and the dynamic, and it was also quite fun. And then I would say Season 4 would sit there, and then number 2 is probably my least favourite. So there you have it. There's my review of Season 4 of Stranger Things. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Did you enjoy this series? Did you not really like it? I'm really curious because it seems to be dividing a lot of people who've loved this show since the beginning. So let me know your thoughts down below. I would love to check those out. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you very soon for another popcorn chat.